Hello, this is Dean Phoenix with part 4 of my Final Fantasy X Overpowered guide, where we'll be trying to get as overpowered as possible and doing a few tricks early in the game, because that's what I'm all about when I'm playing these type of games. I love being overpowered. So, one of the things we just did before was we got Tidus to have 10 sphere levels with the standard sphere grid in Besaid, so that we could have haste, and then we leveled up a bunch, got a load of sphere levels from the SS Licky. So when we reach Kilika, there's a couple of other things to do, and this part will be covering Kilika and Luca. Now, just before we start, I'm going to say a quick word about Blitzball. I love Blitzball, love playing it, and with the standard sphere grid, it's very difficult to branch off different paths, because the sphere grid is how it was originally, where it's quite rigid, so Yuna will only have white magics and be able to use her summons. But one of the most powerful things is to actually get Yuna the black magics as well, by having her converge on Lulu's path, and the only real way to do that early in the game on the standard sphere grid is with Blitzball, so I'll be coming on to that in a bit. And when you get to Kilika, you can save that small child when you've gone along the path a little bit. You have the option to jump over there, and then you get the ether from the treasure chest as appreciation. But there is an Albed primer just on the counter there, and you want to make sure that you get that. So make sure you pick up the Albed primer. And then after this, you have to go through the forest and go to the Kilika Temple. Now, there's a large fiend in the middle of the forest, Lord Ochu, and you want to avoid that until you're coming back, and there's a reason for that, so I'll show you that later. Put the glyph sphere in this particular slot on the wall in the temple, and that will let you get the destruction sphere. So you actually just leave it there for now, but what you do is when you've got access to the destruction sphere, you move this pedestal, and it unlocks the little part there, a recess in the wall, where you get another of the Kilika spheres. And when you take that out and put it into the last door, and that would normally complete the temple. So when you're in the Kilika room, you put them in the recess for the door, it burns the door, and then you take the Kilika sphere back out to walk through. Now, you don't want to do that just yet, because as we discussed in part 2, you must always get the destruction sphere treasures, because you need them for anima later on, and anima is extremely important for doing the end game monster arena parts as quickly as possible. So you grab the destruction sphere, you go down and put it in the recess where you just removed the last of the Kilika spheres, and it will destroy the portion of the wall, and also get you the red armlet, which is extremely useful for Kimahri. It has a couple of the wards, 3 ward abilities, so that's a good armlet for him as well. But make sure that you get that, so you need to open that chest. When you're coming out, you've also got the Ifrit there, and you can fight the Lord Ochu then, that's in the middle. Now, the thing about Lord Ochu is that if you overkill it, it gives 2 MP spheres, or the rare drop, so 1 in 8 chance of getting 2 HP spheres. Now, in the actual standard sphere grid, you don't have a lot of overlap, so what you can do with these, the spheres are extremely powerful. The ones that create nodes are extremely powerful, because the MP ones will give plus 40 MP, or the HP ones will give plus 300 HP, which is a lot early in the game. So you need to decide if you want the HP or the MP for those. For this particular playthrough, I'm just okay with the MP ones, because there's not much, like I say, there's not much crossover on the grids, because everybody sticks to their own area of the grid. So the crossover is not as much of a concern. You can be extremely overpowered with the expert grid, which I'll come on to in a separate playthrough later, because everybody's grids cross over, and you can use those spheres with multiple characters. But for now, I'm just going to get the normal MP ones. I'm just going to hang on to them until a little bit later, when Yuna and Kimahri will cross over, and when Lulu and Yuna will cross over, so I can use one of those 2 spheres for each of those. So like I say, if you wanted, you could save first and fight Ochu repeatedly until you get the 2 HP spheres as a rare drop instead. But for now, I'm just going to beat him normally, overkill him with Ifrit's Overdrive, and then get the 2 MP spheres, and that's what I'm going to be making use of. There is also a lot of chests in this area with Lord Ochu, so you need to make sure you get the Luck sphere, which is on the path just to the right of where Tidus is there. And also, you will sometimes get a poison touch weapon. Now, unfortunately, I got it for Tidus, whereas I want to keep him with the Brotherhood sword for the strength +5 for overkilling enemies. So not as much use for me in this playthrough, but you may get one for Kimahri, or even for Lulu or Yuna, which can be extremely useful for poisoning an enemy. There's also a sin spawn boss before you get to the Kilika Temple, but the clip I had of that failed, so it's not a difficult boss. You just kill the tentacles first and then pound on the boss with magic and then overdrive him for the overkill, so that one's pretty easy. Now you need to get the Albed Primer on the boat when you're heading to Luca, which is what you just saw in the previous clip, and this part is extremely important for the Blitzball, because you need Jecht Shot to have a better chance of being able to beat the goers in the first match. So these things here where it comes up, it's showing you press the direction and X for when the boxes come up, and then for fighting doing this little bit here, so see if one's in the top left, you press up left and X, up and X, down and X, you know, you can see all of those. It's cross on the PlayStation version, it's A on the Xbox version. So you match up the directions and press the buttons, and if you match up enough of those comments, the criticisms that Jecht's giving, then you pass the minigame and you unlock Jecht Shot. So make sure you save before you do that, before you get on the boat, because it's really important to have Jecht Shot. It gives you a much better chance of winning the Blitzball game, the compulsory Blitzball game, which gets you a strength sphere, and as I mentioned before, the spheres are very powerful, but especially the strength sphere, +4 strength makes an enormous difference. Another Albed Primer to get here, just off the side where the people are guarding the entrance to the Blitzball Stadium. Here you've got the docks on Luca as well. There's a few things to get. You can't sign Blitzball players before the first game, which is a damn shame, because if you got Zev there and Wedge as the striker, it would be much easier, but you can't do that. So you have to play the first game with the original Aurochs, sadly. Make sure you get these two here. Again, the magic sphere +4 magic is extremely powerful. Just going to hang on to that and the HP sphere for just a minute until we get a little bit of crossover with Lulu and Yuna later, if you do decide to follow the Blitzball optional parts of the walkthrough that are coming up. Now you can also find another Albed Primer in this little bit here, which is the telesphere that's off to the side. There's a fountain in the middle of Luca, and if you come off you can find this video drone, and there is an Albed Primer there to grab as well. So it's just here off to the side and you take a separate path to get to this, so make sure you get that. Now Yuna gets herself kidnapped and you have to fight this big Albed Machina that has 6,000 hit points, which is a lot. So you could just wail on it if you wanted, but what's better to do is just to cast haste on Lulu so that she gets more turns, and repeatedly use thunder. So Kimahri can just attack the boss, he doesn't really need to do much, and then Lulu can use thunder on the crane, and when she's hit it with a couple of thunders and the crane is constantly vibrating like that, Tidus will be able to use the command, and he'll be able to use the crane to drop the Albed Machina, I think it's called the Obliterator, and you can use the command by pressing left on the D-pad with Tidus, and it will activate the crane and do a ton of health and take most of the health off, but it will still leave the boss with a bit of health. So if you have Tidus with the Slayer Overdrive mode, you can have killed some of the Machina before this fight, when you're fighting the Machina on the docks, and save his overdrive so that you can overkill the boss and get more ability points and maybe an extra sphere level from doing that. So again, when you've got it like that, you can see with Sensor that the boss is at lower health. You can just defend by pressing Y or triangle, and then you can finish it off with Slice and Dice, which will do an overkill. Now I'm going to be doing a separate, two separate episodes for Blitzball. One for the compulsory match for how you beat the goers and try and get that strength sphere, which is extremely important. And then another for if you want to play a Blitzball League, which is 10 games, not including the ones that you can forfeit if you get enough wins so that you have an unassailable lead in the league. You can forfeit the last couple of games. And the reason you would want to do that on the standard sphere grid is to get a teleport sphere, and then you can teleport Yuna to Lulu's grid when Lulu gets the Aura black magic spells, the second level black magic spells, and then back again with a return sphere. Now the first game is eminently winnable if you have some tactics. You can sometimes get unlucky and lose it, but it is very winnable, and you saw there I just won 2-1. That was the very end of the match, and I will be doing a video about how you beat the goers, which will be a pseudo optional part of this walkthrough coming up after this episode. So if you win, you get the strength sphere, and like I say, +4 is a massive amount of damage early in the game, and I would normally give that to Tidus. Again, there's not much crossover between the grids in the standard sphere grid. It won't be until much later in the game that everybody can go into everybody else's bits. So you only really, on the standard grid, get to use the strength sphere for one of the characters, so it has a muted impact compared to the expert sphere grid, where you can keep everybody together and have 2 or 3 of the characters, or even more than that, activate that strength sphere, and that makes an enormous difference. But that's a long way in the future, when we'll be doing an expert sphere grid playthrough in a bit. Seeing as how this is the standard sphere grid one, I'll probably use it with Tidus, and we'll be coming on to that, and the next video will focus on Blitzball. Now, just a quick recap of what I said already, whilst Anima goes mental in this awesome cutscene. With Yuna, you can get a teleport sphere as the League Blitzball prize, and if you win a league, you can get that, and you can also get return spheres and attack reels from doing the tournament. And so you can use a teleport sphere to go to the Ara spells, so Blizzara, Thundara, Wotara, and you can, when Lulu activates those, you can teleport to that part of the grid with Yuna and have 2 mages, and Yuna's magic and agility are much higher than Lulu's, so she's an even better black mage than Lulu actually is. So I'll be coming on to that, but it's not absolutely compulsory, so if you really hate Blitzball or you don't like it, you can ignore the little Blitzball parts of the guide that are coming up, and we'll just reconvene on the Mian High Road. So thank you for watching, hope you found this useful, and please like and subscribe for more videos.